So today's session,
Doctor, are you recording? Sorry.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So today's session, we are looking at your second assignment, which is the seminar, right? I've sent you some documents on the WhatsApp. I sent you the stories, the 2 short stories based on last week's lecture, in case anyone's interested to use that for their assignment. I've also sent you the rubric for the seminar so that you know what I'm assessing you on. So I just want to kind of go through some of the stuff with you today, some of the things that will help you hopefully prepare better for the seminar. Always know what you will be assessed so that when you are presenting your assignment, you are presenting it within the form, the structure, and the expectation of the course, right? So before you show me your thoughts or your ideas or your drafts, just very quickly, I just want to go through the rubric so that you are in the know in terms of the expectation. The grade is the grid is from 1 to 4. Maximum is 4 that you can get for each feature of the seminar. But the focus would be content, discussion, language, organization, and presentation. So when we talk about content, a good content is when the seminar demonstrates knowledge of the facts, the terms, the concepts that you will be using in your analysis. For instance, if it is on gender, if it is on Malaysian literature and English, if it is on a particular story. So the content demonstrates a very comprehensive knowledge of all these aspects. Okay, then discussion. A very good seminar has a very critical engagement with the chosen text, okay, and also has a kind of objectivity in the way you examine the text. You know, for instance, if you are examining a text about female representation and you feel very passionate about it, if you tend to be very subjective in the way you describe things, then you're not being impartial. Impartial means to kind of like be objective, to look at the text from an objective standpoint, rather than you get too emotionally invested and then your arguments become biased, so you don't want that either. And third component is language. Obviously, you have to show a very high command of the English language and ability to present your ideas and thoughts in the English language. Fourthly, organization. Any presentation that you do, you must begin with an introduction, with a thesis statement. You must go into the kind of explication, the analysis, and then you end with the conclusion. So the organization is key. All right. Another aspect of organization is how have you chosen to organize your seminar? Maybe you choose to organize your seminar by asking questions. That's a very good kind of way to engage your audience. When you ask questions, you are making your audience think about the question itself as you probe the question and you provide your own answers to these questions, right? So think about that. And finally, presentation. Because this is called a seminar, this is not an essay, this is not a video essay, this is a seminar. A seminar entails you are conducting the seminar and there is the audience, i.e. your classmates, engaging with what you are presenting. So it's not one way. So I'm also giving you marks for the way you are able to facilitate discussion in the class through the topic that you have chosen, through the discussion that you are putting together. So attempt to engage with your classmates. attempt to maybe ask them questions and get them to respond and use their responses as part of your presentation, right? So if you're able to do all of these within the text that you have chosen, then you will do very, very well for the seminar. I also shared just a couple of pointers, two main points in terms of what it is that you should focus on with regards to the seminar. Always begin, brainstorming about the seminar, always begin from a thesis statement point of view, not from the story point of view. Begin by knowing what it is that you are trying to prove in the course of doing this seminar. Are you trying to prove the writer is biased in the way he or she presents the female character? Are you trying to show the text is very much set within a plural context, and because of that plural society context, the kind of racial mix is not evident. It's a very introspective perspective of a particular community in Malaya, for instance. So what is it that you are trying to prove? So begin on that. The first thing you need to do is to decide on the thesis statement. So I think if you can begin with the thesis statement, the structure of your presentation becomes a lot clearer, because the thesis statement is in the introduction section. And you will then have to prove the thesis statement through your analysis, which is the middle bit. And then you will have a conclusion, which comes back to the thesis statement and asks how far the thesis statement is evident, whether you were able to prove it, if so, what is the impact of this kind of a discussion. The second thing you have to look at is, we talked about this in a couple of lectures ago, never look at the text in isolation. There is always a context that allows the text to be read in greater depth. And what is that context? Is that context historical? So within the Malaysian literature and English canon, a lot of the texts are set within historical context. It could be plural society. It could be Japanese invasion. It could be the May 13, 1969 riots. It's various episodes, right? One of the tasks that I gave you at the very early on of the semester is to identify historical episodes in the country's history. Maybe the text that you have chosen identifies certain episodes. Then ask yourself, how far is the writer trying to either revision the history, trying to show a different side of that episode, or using that history, that part of the history of the country as a character, as an important character in the story. For instance, in The Return, the plural society is an important character in the story, meaning if you don't know the plural society as a context, you will not be able to read the text and understand the nuances. Why are the Indian community so isolated from other communities in the country, in the land? Where are the other communities in the land? And why is it that the Indian community appears to be self-sufficient? They have everything in the estates. They don't need to kind of leave the estates. Why is that? So in order to understand that, it's the context, it's the historical context that helps me understand the text better. So you need to decide on the context. So all these things you do before you begin engaging with the text. But obviously you have read the text, you know what the story is about, and then you choose the text. But this is steps towards preparing for your seminar. Now comes to the actual text, the engagement with text. So this is more text-based. In your seminar, you need to be able to identify at least 6 to 8 excerpts quotes from the passages from the story that you have chosen. Choose at least 6 to 8 crucial excerpts that helps support your thesis statement, right? And use those excerpts as the basis of your discussion. You may put the excerpt up and ask your friends, okay, based on this particular excerpt, what do you think the writer is saying about Malaya? What is this writer trying to say about male-female relationship, about gender role, about whatever it is that you are interested in, whatever the thesis is? You may put the excerpt there, and you may engage your classmates by asking them questions, by getting them to look at the excerpt and engaging with the excerpt, getting their feedback, and then you present your discussion. So this way, you are not just, doing a one-way presentation, but in fact, you are having a conversation with your classmates. So once you have chosen, you will examine each of the excerpts, and remember the features of literature. You've got your character, you've got your plot, you've got your actions, you've got conflicts. So these are elements of the story that will help you analyze and prove your thesis statement. So don't forget that. Look at the main character of the story. Look at relationship between the main character and the other characters. For instance, if I am interested to look at gender representation of the female characters in The Return, I will look at certain characters and I will identify the female characters. Of course, the grandmother, then there is the mother, and then there is the stepmother. Maybe I want to focus on these 3, or even Menon's wife, right? These 4 female characters, and looking at these female characters, how are they positioned in the story? Are they the main part of the story? Are they the marginalized aspect of the story? Do they have a voice? Do they have a sense of presence? So that will help me develop my thesis statement, okay? And then I will find 6 to 8 excerpts from the story in which each character is represented or presented. Either the character says something, or the character is described or mentioned in passing, right? Then I will analyze that. And one key thing that I want you to kind of like remember is, when you are doing any kind of analysis, don't focus primarily on what is obvious. Don't retell the story. Don't tell us what is the action, what is the story, what is the conflict. Those are part of the summary of your story, right? But in your analysis, you must focus on the unsaid. What is not stated, or what is mentioned, but you need to read between the lines in order to be able to understand that part of the story. For instance, back to the Return, the fact that Ravi's grandmother has a whole chapter for herself in the first chapter. Her life story is captured in the first chapter, and Ravi's stepmother has kind of dialogue with the father, whereas Ravi's mother is not even mentioned, or is not even given much mention. There is that aspect of the unsaid. It says something by not saying, by not describing her, by not fleshing her out as a character. We don't know anything about her, how tall she is, how she sounds, like what her thoughts, what does she think about Ravi going to the grocery store to buy the toothpaste and the toothbrush? Does she feel like her son is leaving the culture and not being proud of being Indian? Does she have those thoughts about her own child? Or does she just abide by whatever the husband says? So those are the unsaids. Those are the silences in the story, or the gaps in the story, that you as a critical reader can probe. Like, why is Manyam ignoring the mother character? what does that say about the author and his construction of gender? Okay, so these are the things that you need to focus on. And as I said in the presentation about the rubric, focus on these primary areas. And I think language is fine for all of you. And I think organization based on your video essay, you have a kind of a structure, you know how to organize. So tap into that strength. Work on developing a thesis statement. Use the thesis statement for the discussion by focusing on 6 to 8 excerpts and proving the thesis statement. And don't forget, this is a presentation, and this is not a one-way presentation. This is a seminar. You need to engage your audience. Okay, so if you are able to meet all that, you should be able to do a very good job for the seminar. Okay, so I would like to hear from you now in terms of your draft for the video essay, sorry, for the seminar. Who would like to go first? Just tell me what you're working on, or keeping in mind that you have to present something based on the work you do, and the best way to kind of create a good piece of work is to get some feedback beforehand. Who would like to go first?
Okay, Doctor, can I go first?
Yes.
Okay. But I don't know how, can I send you the slides, Doctor? Because I am using the phone.
Sure.
So, right?
Do you want to show the slides? Do you want us to go through the slides? I mean, you can just talk to us and tell us. Sorry?
It's up to you. If you want me just to, it's up to you. You want me to send you the slides, or I can go on?
Can you send me the slides?
Yes, Doctor.
Are you sending it via WhatsApp or email?
What do you want it for? WhatsApp or email?
Anything is fine. Anything is fine. So whilst Huda is doing that, does anybody else want to present their draft or their thoughts for the seminar?
Doctor, I don't mind if I can just let you know. Okay, so instead of focusing on one novel, I will go back to my first presentation on Shiri Cole's Ripples, another short story. So I know that because it's a short story, so I won't able to get as much as excerpts for one particular short story. So my idea is I will be taking 3 short stories, and I've extracted the excerpts that is needed. So my thesis statement, more or less, for now, is focusing on how either like man or manhood portrayed by Shiri Kao in her short story. So this would, for now, this is my idea that I will be going.
Okay.
And then I'm just looking at literature reviews on masculinity and gender role, and I found a few very interesting things. And one of it is that I will just lay out that I think the way she represented men in particular in her stories, in these short stories, are quite interesting, because contrary to how usually authors write about gender in particular, whether male or female, they always show you like what you'll be expecting of. It's like if you write about women, and then the story would be somewhere along the line where either she's abused or has a happy family. Or if you're a man, if you write about a man, the man will be a successful man, or that man is a failure. So they kind of like yes or no in between. But for Shiri Kaos, the way she portray men is kind of interesting, because my idea is these men are forced, in a sense, forced to be men. But if they could, they don't want to be the man that is constructed by society.
Mm.
And she managed to showcase this, but the unsaid part, when Doctor focuses, I realized that the unsaid part might be the way that she. Sorry if you can hear my niece crying. I'm sorry. Um, it's like the way that she portray. She doesn't emphasize it. She really doesn't push it to push it to you. She just lay out like that, and she just let you take it. And another fun thing that I liked about the Ripple, because all her stories are all interconnected. It's like how I wanted to say this in the seminar, but I'll just say it now. It's like how we are all living in together, like a residence area, like in Malaysia, but
Mm-hmm.
like you know your neighbor, like your neighbor, like who is he, they have how many families, but you don't know their life. you
Mm.
don't you don't really know them, but you know them, and then
So
somehow
it's
their lives are intertwined.
so it's not plural society where you are in isolation of each other,
Yeah, it's not plural
right?
society. Yeah, and then it's like it's telling you that how actually, in a sense, that we are all interconnected,
Mm.
is in a community, whether we are in a residence area, or we are in the same district, or we are in the same country. It's like we are all interconnected.
Right.
Yeah, somewhere along the line like that. So yeah.
Okay. So I will problematize a couple of things that you said,
Okay, okay.
and I'm going to kind of like allow you to kind of think about these issues. One of the things that you said just now was manhood. You want to look at Shirley's representation of manhood. Now, this is also a construct, right? So whatever words that you all use for your analysis, for your thesis statement, you need to define it. So this is the operational term needs to be defined. You have to define what it means in your own study when you use the word manhood, for instance. So you need to bring in this definition, maybe based on gender studies, or based on cultural studies, or based on sociology. It doesn't matter. This is the methodology that you're using. This is the theoretical framework that you are using, because one person's understanding of manhood is different from another, right?
Yes, that is true.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's the key to your analysis, and the key to your conclusion as well. Because when you talk about the interconnectedness and all that, you need to be able to showcase that aspect clearly in the analysis, which means your choice of excerpt needs to be spot on. You need to choose
Yeah.
excerpts that best illustrates what do you mean by this interconnectedness, where in the story, where in the metaphor used, the language used, in the dialogues used, that allows you to get this sense of interconnectedness, and how is that
Oh,
tied to this notion of manhood. All right,
okay,
so
okay. I
this
think
is
I'll explain that more. Maybe because okay. And the thing is actually, doctor, I'm still contemplating whether I'll be using manhood, because yeah, I found a few literature review that I haven't really gone through yet, so I might change. But more or less, it's still focused on how the author, she is portraying man through her story. That's the main thing. But in terms of concept and everything, I might change a little.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold all of you to your draft, whatever you all
Okay.
share today. I'm not going to hold you to it, but I'm just giving you pointers so that when you do your presentation next week, you do it with a kind of clarity that
Okay.
whatever words that I choose, I have to
Mm-mm.
choose it keeping in mind that I need to define it first, not
Yes, true that.
dictionary definition, but definition based on theoretical reading, you know, based on theory. Okay?
Okay.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
All right, Huda, have you sent?
Yes, doctor, I sent it by email.
Email, okay. Which email address did you use? I haven't gotten it. Oh, yes, finally.
Doctor,
Yes.
Dr. Okay, got it?
Yes.
All right.
You sent a PDF copy, yes?
No, doctor. It's slide, PPT slides.
Oh, PowerPoint. All right, okay, cool. Do you want to go through the whole thing now? What's your...
All right, doctor. It's diaspora communities in Malaysia.
Yeah, but I actually I would rather you tell us.
About what, doctor?
Talk to us about your presentation rather than me showing the slide. Talk to us about the presentation.
All right, doctor. So it will be diaspora communities in Malaysia, a rich literature of a life of adjustment and coping strategies in KS Maniams in a far country. I have this introduction.
But don't read through it. Just tell us. I can see your slides. I've opened it.
Okay.
Just tell us briefly what is this? What is it that you want to do in this presentation?
Well, I speak about the immigration, the kinds of immigration. Then I took Rushdie 2002 to speak about diaspora, about trauma, rootlessness, and a quest for identity. Then I go on to the conceptual framework. It will be the I bring the etymology of diaspora. I said something about it. Then what Rushdie said about the effect of the immigration with the immigrant communities, such as trauma, dislocation, unending longing, and so on, until I go to the conceptual work will, depending on Volkmann and Lazarus in 1980, there are three kinds of the appraisal: the primary appraisal, second, and cupping. And I say something about the process of perceiving a threat to oneself as for the primary appraisal, the threat in the novel and the characters feeling their identity being lost or being attacked by a community with a different identity. The second appraisal will be the process of bringing to mind a potential response to the threat. This is seen in the novel and the characters' thoughts and reflection of what they could do and how they can interfere with the threat that is inevitable. And the third one will be the cupping, the process of executing that response. In the novel, different characters use different strategies. And next, I will show the different types of cupping strategies.
What's the thesis? What's the thesis statement here? I understand you are looking at the coping strategy of characters in Maniam's novel. I understand that. Okay, just a second. Just a second, okay. So I've gone through the slides. I understand what you're trying to do in terms of your methodology. I understand that. Oops. My question is, so you've got your text, okay? You've got your text. You have identified your text, and more important also is you've identified your method of analysis, your methodology, right? You're using coping strategies to examine your chosen text. I also understand that. Okay. Now, the question I'm asking you, all of you, please think about this when you are doing your presentation, when you're preparing for your presentation. So based on the text, based on the methodology, and you've got the context also, your context is the diasporic experience, okay? So you've got, this is the text, this is the context. I understand, all right? I understand what you're doing there. So let me just remove this, okay? Okay. Now the question I am asking is the bigger circle, right? Why? Why are you doing this? What are you trying to achieve by looking at the diasporic Indian communities' ability or lack of in terms of coping? What is it that you are trying to prove? That's the statement. This is how you develop your thesis statement.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now your thesis statement is you are examining Maniam's novel, looking at it from the perspective of coping strategy. But that's not a thesis statement. That's not a completed thesis statement. Okay. That is the how and the what. So this is when you look at the methodology, you're asking yourself, how am I going to do this? When you look at the text, you're asking yourself, what am I going to do? I'm going to study this text. How am I going to study this text? By looking at coping strategies. But the more important question, all of you need to think about is, why am I doing this? What am I trying to achieve? What am I hoping to achieve in order by doing this? Okay. That is the thesis statement. That is that's the statement that will form the basis of your analysis as well as moving into your conclusion. Why does any community need to have any kind of coping strategies? What is it that is challenging them, that they are having to come up with strategies to cope? What is causing them to have to go through this kind of an experience? So look at that aspect of the context of the diasporic experience, and then you'll be able to see, okay, this is the thesis. So one of the things that you can look at is, you can also ask yourself, what is the writer trying to do by showing his Indian characters in this light, by making them go through these kinds of coping strategies? What is the writer, K.S. Maniam, what is the writer trying to, what statement is the writer trying to make about the diasporic Indian communities' experience living away from India, living in a non-Indian society, living as a migrant, living as a diasporic community? What is the writer trying to say? So think about that aspect and incorporate that in the thesis statement, and then your presentation becomes a lot more complete. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. And what is also missing in your slides, of course, I don't expect the slides to be complete, but right now what you need to focus on, that you need to add, if you remember what I said, if you remember what I said just now, you need to identify 6 to 8 excerpts where the coping strategy is identified. Now you have chosen 3 characters, but the characters are not Indian. Not all of them are Indian. So you have chosen 2 Indian characters, and one non-Indian character. So you're talking about diasporic Indian community. Why are you bringing a non-Indian character into this discussion? So that's going to also create more problems. So I would focus primarily on the Indian characters, if that's my thesis. So again, it depends on what you are trying to prove, you know. If your
Yes.
statement, thesis statement is more about migrant experience, then you want to look at the Chinese and the Indian Malaysians experience, that's okay. But because you are focusing on the diasporic Indian community, choosing a non-Indian character as the focus of your analysis is not relevant to your analysis. Do you understand? So
Yes, doctor.
you have to kind of like create the scope, identify the scope with more clarity, and ask yourself, if I'm interested on the diasporic experience, the Indian diasporic experience, the characters that I choose must support that. It has to be Indian characters. It has to be migrant Indian community, from the migrant Indian community. But if I'm looking at diasporic experience as a general phenomenon, then the Chinese experience, the Indian experience, or any other characters living in diaspora can also be incorporated. So think about those things and see whether that will help you strengthen your presentation. Okay?
Of course, doctor.
All right.
Thank you. Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Who's next?
Can I return, please?
Ken?
Okay, thank you.
Are you sharing anything, or are you just going to talk to us about it?
Just I want to talk something, Doctor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. For my just draft, Doctor, or just to outline something that the draft that I want to talk about just for my next assignment, that I choose the title, The Post-Colonial Malaya, Supremacy in KS Miniums in a Far Country. As the beginning, as I want to mention for the background of the novel, I said here that for the in a far country, that the novel that I focusing on, it is the story of Rajan, that he was achieved a great professional progress, and he also negotiate land transactions and construct events or ventures for real estate. As he was far from the stereotypes in Malaysia surrounding Indians.
What are
Another thing.
What are some stereotypes surrounding Indians in Malaysia?
Sorry, Doctor?
What are some stereotypes? What are the stereotypes?
The usual way that Malaysia live and all the tradition that Malaysia live at the time, and how the Indians or Chinese suffering from to be in or to be with these stereotypes.
I don't quite get it. Like what kind of stereotypes? Even if you don't have the answers now, I would like you to explore this statement and back it up with references. You can go online. There is a lot of articles about sociological researchers into Malaysian diversity, Malaysians multiculturalism. So probe into that. Don't just make such statements without any evidence, as well as without any reference.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing that I want to mention for that is background of the study. I here mention for the Chinese and Indians community that unlike the Chinese community, the Indians were less productive as they came mostly as underpaid people to work in the rubber plantations. Also, they had little of the business advantage that the Chinese had. They were split between Hindus and Muslims and long language and class divisions. They were also less unified units. So here is the point that I mentioned for as background of the study. In this research, Doctor, I want to mention for 3 objectives. The first one, that how to explore the author illustrate Malaya supremacy in the novel. And also the second object that I want to mention for that is how to examine the diaspora characters suffer from the Malaya supremacy, and then to highlight how the characters' reactions to Malaya supremacy.
Ali, I'm going to stop you there. What do you mean by Malaya supremacy? Malaya, the land?
Yes. I mean here that in Malaya, that there's people that feel supremacy or deal in a way with others people in a way that is preeminence or supremacy way.
You mean the Malay or the Malaya? Is it the land or the community?
I mean the community, Victor.
Malay. It's Malay, not Malaya. Malay. Not the land, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are problematizing the hegemonic relationship, the Malay supremacy, and its relationship to the way the Indians are treated. And you want to talk about this from K.S. Maniam's novel's perspective, yes?
Exactly.
Okay, that's fine. That's a clear thesis statement. Your focus is evident. So what you now need to do is to make sure you have, like I said to all of you, 6 to 8 excerpts. Show us actual excerpts. So which characters, because you are looking at the same novel as Huda, but your focus is completely different, right? So which characters will you focus on in your analysis?
Till now, Doctor, I am focused on Rajan and also Zulkifli, but I may focus on another one.
Yeah, no. Rajan and Zulkifli is key, because when you say Malay supremacy, you want a representation of the Malay character in the analysis. So my suggestion is to kind of focus on the dialogues between them, because there's a portion in the book when Zulkifli convinces Rajan to go into the jungle with him. So there are excerpts there that you can tap into. So that's crucial. So Huda's analysis will be different. Huda will focus primarily on the Indian character because her thesis is focusing on that. Ali will have to focus on the interrelationship between the Malay character and the Indian character and prove his thesis statement from analyzing the dialogue between Zulkifli and Rajan, and where in the dialogue does Zulkifli illustrate his Malay supremacy, his mindset of a superior member of society. So you need to show in your analysis, and then your thesis statement will become more evident. Okay?
Okay, Doctor.
Good. Good. Any questions, Ali?
No, Doctor, thank you. But I just want to mention that the last excerpt that you refer for right now, I have it as a dialogue between Rajan and Zulkifli. I have this dialogue when he meet him at the forest or.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
The jungle, forest or jungle.
All right. Thank you. Alice, do you want to go next?
Yes, Doctor. For my assignment too, I want to focus on the gender study, especially on equality and identity and power of woman. I use the test short story Maria.
Short story by
Maria.
Maria. Okay, cool. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
I suddenly changed my idea last night when I reading the short story.
Good.
For my literary review part, I want to talk about the background of the Muslim woman, because Maria is mainly talk about something happened in Muslim society, a brief is a brief introduction of the author and the text to show the context of the story. For my text analysis part, there are 3 questions. First is, are women equal to men in marriage, education, and work in the Muslim society? And the second question is, how much power a woman has in a family? And the third question is, what is the woman identity in the Muslim society? I use the text Maria to analyze the 6 question, 3 questions.
Okay. I agree that Maria is the central character of the story, you know, but there is another female character who is equally significant, by the name of Cik Yam.
Yes, it's Imam's wife.
The Imam's wife, that's right. So I would recommend that you analyze both Maria and Cik Yam against these questions that you are focusing on, because Cik Yam is within the institution of marriage, married to the Imam, to this man, and Maria, on the other hand, is on the outside and about to enter into a polygamous relationship with the Imam and the wife, you know, so she's going to be the second wife. So you should analyze, because if I can, you cannot achieve your thesis statement by only looking at one side of the discussion. Right? Your discussion must focus on so because you are because you're looking at the element of gender, and there are many female characters in the story, some very, very minor characters, you know, they're talking to each other and gossiping about Maria and all that. So there is those kind of characters, but the 2 main characters would be Maria and Cik Yam, right?
Yes.
The more important question to also ask is, what is the writer trying to do? Because the writer is also a female. The writer is also a Muslim, right? As a female Muslim writer, why is she positioning Maria in this way and Cik Yam in that way? So the bigger circle in your discussion, if you like, is the writer and how the writer appears to problematize the issue of marriage. The issue, you're right, the issue of identity. What is the worth of the Muslim woman in this context? If she doesn't have a child, you know, what's her worth? If she's not married, what's her worth? So both characters appear to kind of showcase another aspect of both the gender identity, specifically the identity of the woman. But you cannot examine the writer's discussion of gender identity by focusing only on one character, because that one character represents one side of the discussion. Then the other character represents the other side. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, so you must probe both characters in order to get a more comprehensive perspective of what is the writer trying to say. You know, look at how Cik Yam struggles with the idea, you know, and look at Maria. Does she appear to kind of just accept the idea of marrying somebody because she doesn't have a husband passed away, or is she also struggling with the idea? So what is the writer trying to show? Look at the story closely, look at the language, look at the way the action is described, the dialogue, in order to understand the writer's position as well as the story that she is depicting. Is that okay?
Okay, doctor, thank you. And if you don't mind, I have a small question.
Please, please.
Could you please recommend me some kind of e-dictionary of Malay language?
Okay.
It's with pronunciation of Malay words. It's difficult for me to know.
You're not doing Malay for foreign language?
Yes, but there's no e-dictionary provide the pronunciation. Some words I know, but I know the meaning, but I don't know the pronunciation.
Give me a word. Give me a word.
For the name of the imam's wife, I don't know the pronunciation, especially on name. Yeah.
Okay, because if its name is a little bit more problematic, because if it is actual vocabulary in the language, then you can just Google it and you can click on the pronunciation and they can pronounce it for you. With name, you know, even the name Dong Lai, am I pronouncing it correctly, or is there a kind of a stress? You know, all that will be, you have to find out from the people themselves, right? The name Cik Yam, for instance, in the Kelantanese culture, the title Cik shows a kind of a social standing. You know, Cik Yam comes from a family that allows that is of reputable position, so she has a title in the society. Maria is just another female character, Malay female character. So what I would like is if you could just identify the names that you want clarification on how to pronounce, I can help you with that. There isn't an e-dictionary, unfortunately, on Malay names pronunciation, you know, so yeah. Okay. Yeah, but if there is any words in Malay that you are not familiar with, that you need clarification, just let me know. You can message me, you can drop me a line on the WhatsApp, and I can help you with that.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Because I'm not in the environment,
I know. I started off today's class by saying, you know, I know this is more challenging to study at the university in this kind of a circumstance where you are away from campus, you are not part of the society, the culture, you're not able to kind of experience that aspect of the learning outside the classroom learning, you know. So I do empathize with you, but we'll try to facilitate as much as we can. Yeah. Okay. Any questions about the text? Because is there anything you would like to clarify? Get clarification on the text?
Yes, but because I just started reading the short story yesterday, I need some time to digest it,
Sure.
and if I have some problem or some question, if you don't mind, I will message you.
Can. And if you need to meet up and have a discussion like this, tomorrow morning I'm actually free. I blocked Friday morning for my own research, but any of you, you're welcome to kind of from I think 10:30 onwards I have a meeting. But from 9 to 10:30 I'm actually free. I'm available. I'll be online doing my own work. So if you need to meet me to discuss anything, feel free. That's not a problem.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Okay, cool. All right. Anyone else has any questions, or because I don't want to hold you any longer. So if we're done with the presentation, I would say we're done with the class. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask.
Doctor. Okay.
Yes.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
When it's just like when you think about women or men, like boy or girl, they like go through adolescence and then puberty, and what are those usually called? Is it considered womanhood or is it considered manhood? Or we just simply state it like stages of life, is it?
I would use what you just used, the adolescence, young adulthood. So uh, uh, the key phases, if you like, at that stage would be the rite of passage. In
Yes, that word. Oh my gosh. Okay, thank you,
Rite of
doctor.
passage, yes, because be it boy or girl, in any society, any culture, usually those moving from childhood into young adulthood, they will have to go through a certain kind of rite of passage. With girls, it's a lot easier because you go through a physical transformation, right? You have menses, you start to have your monthly bleeding and all this. So this is biologically part of your growth and as a young woman. So you go through that kind of a rite of passage. But in some society, for instance, in tribal society, the boys, for instance, will be asked to kind of go away with the other boys and live in the woods or outskirts of the village to kind of experience independence. So this aspect of rite of passage is available in any culture, right? So so it's not so much boyhood or girlhood, but adolescence. So look at it from
Okay.
that perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Any other questions?
Thank you, Doctor. Everything is clear.
Good. I like that each one of you have chosen your own, your own sense of what it is that you want to focus on with regards to this corpus called Malaysian Literature and English. Because what I want from you is not so much as how many texts have you read in Malaysian Literature and English, but rather what aspect of Malaysia have you understood through the fiction produced by their writers, by Malaysian writers, So of course, at the graduate level, you cannot be expected to read everything and anything that's available, but rather you can come up with a more specialized emphasis, So whatever it is that you are focusing on for your second assignment, this is exactly the kind of work that you should be kind of probing at the graduate level, not to read superficial at the surface level, all these texts, but rather to take one or two texts and to go in depth, like really go deep and explore and find out more about the story and the issues and develop a thesis statement. It's that experience of developing a thesis statement that will kind of be the skill set that you need later when you're doing your research, when you're doing your thesis, as well as when you're doing any other assignment for all your courses, your master's courses. So I'm hoping that this experience will kind of increase your confidence in terms of how to conduct research. It can be a small scale research, a presentation, a seminar, but you can duplicate the same skill. You can replicate that into your other researches as well. This is my hope for your progress through the master's program. All right. So if you have no questions for me, I will end the class here. You have a lot of work to do because each of you have chosen a text that you are exploring further. So use the time to explore. And if you need to meet with me sometime tomorrow, let me know. I will be available, but just message me. So just in case I don't check my message, if you let me know in advance, I will definitely be online just to wait for your call. Okay?
Okay, doctor. Thank you.
Okay, doctor.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care,
It was so
everybody.
nice said done.
Sorry?
Same to you, Doctor.
Thank you. So inshallah, I will see you next week. Jennifer, do you celebrate Christmas?
Yeah, it's okay. Oh, doctor, because on the 24th, right? I have I'm working in the morning, so I might be late for class about half an hour. So maybe I can present last. Is it possible?
Can. No, but that's Christmas Eve. Is that okay? Do you have to
Yeah,
go
it's okay. It's
to
okay,
church?
doctor. It's all right. Church is at night. Oh no, I can't go church. Right? It's like online video streaming church. So thank you,
Okay.
doctor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So next week is the presentation. Each of you will be given 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So use the time effectively. Don't rush through things. And we will begin. As usual. So Jennifer, you're saying you're coming in at 2:30.
Yeah, most likely, doctor. Is it possible? It's just for that day.
Can.
Okay, thank
Uh,
you.
so we will start. Whoever is here, we will start first with your presentation. Check the rubric. Make sure you know what you're being assessed on, and make sure your PowerPoint slides and your presentation has every aspect of the assessment. Okay. So thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Take care. Stay safe. I will see you next week. If
Thank
not
you,
sooner,
Doctor.
if you need to see me. All right.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Same to you. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
doctor.
Okay,
Thank
doctor.
you.
Bye.
Bye,
See you
Doctor.
soon. Stay safe, doctor.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too. Bye-bye.